Good evening, Dhamma friends. Welcome back to day 8 of Sutta study at BMB. And we have been studying about the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta for the last, I would say, month and a half. And we are continuing and we will be continuing to understand the larger, broader perspective of the Sutta. And I think most of you might have thought, okay, but they would have just discussed about the meaning and then just we'll have finished the Sutta. There are a lot of things to study across the Sutta and then across the canon. Across the Sutta and across the canon. Okay, so let's pay respect to the Buddha first. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tasse bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Namo tasse bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Namo tasse bhagavato arahato Samma sambuddhasse. All right, so last Monday we studied about the third path factor, which is what we call by Samma Vacha. All right, so if I wanted to show you where we are at now today, is that, see, the sutta started from here, Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, and we discuss about two extreme ends which the Buddha did not practice. Of course, he practiced, and then he understood that they did not help him to become the Buddhahood. So he gave up. So Kamasukalikkana Yoga and Attakilimatthana Yoga, giving so much pain to the body. It is just as somebody thinks that the more pain that somebody can give to oneself, the happier that person will be like. It's an old narrative, old bumpkin school narrative. In olden days, people say you have to work hard, smart hard. We had to work hard actually, not be smart. In today's world, it won't be that same, right? Especially the young folks don't like to work hard that much. They want to be having a very comfortable work-life balance life, today's world, not like their previous generations. In the same way, the Buddha says that if somebody is attached, I would say greedy for the sensuality, it is an end. It is an extreme actually. We need some sensuality, but it should not step over the greed level. And then on the other hand, if you completely deny kamas, I would say giving pain to the body, that will be another extreme where we will not continue. And then after that we discuss about middle path. This is where we are still. We have been discussing right view, right intention, right speech. Today right action. Right action. What is the right action? All right. We have a word for that. We call it Samma Kammanta. Samma Kammanta. The word is similar to Kamma. Why is it Kammanta? Why it was not Kamma? Now we have two words, right? In Pali we know, I would say, Kamma. Right? This is a very, very popular word that you know, right? And then the second is here, Kammanta. What could be a difference? What is Kamma? How do we understand these two terms? Because we know Kamma oftentimes, and then here Kammanta. Looks like there's a difference by letters. Now, Kamma means it is a neutral. It's a neutral word. It could be good. It could be bad. It is not necessarily mundane. Kammanta is mundane actions, right? So in Buddhism we say kamma is not just the action, kamma is the intentional, volitional action. It is not the mere action. Mere actions, not all actions create kamma. There are karmaless actions. There are karmaless actions. Recently I did an interview with one of the very popular Dhamma speakers. What's his name? Uncle Vijay. I interviewed him for Malaysian version of misconception of Buddhist Kamma. You will be able to watch that probably in a couple of weeks. Hosted by Buddhist Cheng Fellowship. It's interesting about asking about karmaless actions. In Buddhism we have karmaless actions. They are mere actions. They are not karmas. Now there are two versions. One is our actions which do not fall into karma, and the other actions are karma actions that are done by arahants. When you become an arahant, your actions don't create karmas. So it is a neutral. Kamma is a neutral word, but kammanta is a mundane. That means your actions, right? They are neutral. A step, I would say, ahead of neutral formality. Now, as you can now go back, Samma Ditti, when you have the right view, when your views are purified, and then you are coming up with right intentions. When your intentions are pure, then what will happen to you? Then your words which arise from the, I would say, intentions will become now the intentions become pure. At that point, from intentions your speech arises, right? And then from your speech there comes actions. But are there any actions that could come by bypassing this order? Can we bypass this order and then have actions? Can we? What about no? What about a mentally sick person? How will his or her actions be understood? Do you think that this mentally sick person has a view? Yeah, definitely. Intentions, definitely intention part might not be working as much as he or she thinks. And then the speech part, there are some issues in that part. It's not a regular kind of a linear process that we see. For us, we have the linear process where we see that our actions primarily come from our speech. Because we discussed last Monday that we mentally chat. We have mental chatters. We have mental chatting. We not only speak, we also mentally speak to us, right? I think most part we talk to us mentally, right? So that means our speech should not necessarily come from words, I would say, the language format, right? So then most of the actions are not having foundation of visible words, right? We think that we should have visible words. That means I say something and I work upon that. I work on it. But not necessarily. That means we mentally talk and then we put them into actions. It can work in both ways. All right, so let's get into an idea. I'm going to read these two later. What is Kammanta? Well, I would say here we already discussed Mano Kamma, that means Ditti, Sankappa, Samma Ditti, Samma Sankappa, and Vachi Kamma, Samma Vacha. Now here with Kammanta, we are going to talk about Kaya Kamma. That means Mano Kamma first, Vachi Kamma second, Kaya Kamma third. It looks to me a reverse order, right? right? It's a reverse order now. We start from body, then speech and the mind. But now here, the Noble Eightfold Path talks about the complete opposite of that order. Mind, then speech, and then bodily actions, right? Manokamma means Ditti Sankalpa, as you can see. This is interesting that you can see, but your Vachi Kamma and Kaya Kamma display what you already have in Manokamma. Okay, what are the basically the right actions? Abstaining from taking life, abstaining from stealing, abstaining from sexual misconduct. In other words, 3 out of the 5 precepts. Panadipata Veramani, Adinadana Veramani, Kamisumichachara Veramani. Why Musavada Veramani? Not a part of this, because it relates to speech. And Suramere Majjapamadattana, not taking intoxicants which cloud the mind. Why it is not a part of Samma Kamma, the right action? It could be an action. Why is it? Why is Suramere not a part of this? These are the 3, no? 1, 2, 3. Why Suramere is not a part of it? Suramere means intoxicants. Huh? It is not necessarily alcohol, because we consume alcohol, right? At which point? Even at the doctor's supervised process, we had to consume alcohol. Maybe I would say we catch a cold, we catch I would say, a cough. At that point, over-the-counter medications do not work. So a doctor might say that you may have to take an antibiotic, in which you might consume some alcoholic stuff, a codeine-based syrup. And doctor advises you to take it just before sleep, not during the day. It will make you drowsy. Why? That particular medication, antibiotic, cannot work up until you put yourself to the sleep. And then the medication start working. And we consume alcohol. So Suramere is not just consuming alcohol. Suramere means, what's that? Huh? Addiction. That means you can mindfully drink. You can drink mindfully. It's a thought given by Tibetan Lama, I think, in the US. We can promote mindful drinking in the US culture. But very controversial article on internet. You can search that. What else? So how do we understand this 5th precept? I tell you that it is not drinking alcohol, because we drink alcohol. We consume alcohol. If so, it's not the surface level of consuming. It is when someone drinks to intoxicate, right? To cloud the mind. It is when someone purposely clouds the mind. It is someone when, as you said, consumes as an addiction, as a habit of addiction, whereby your mind gets clouded. There is no clarity. There is no opportunity for you to have a self-control. There is no opportunity for you to have an awareness where you can, I would say, give a good judgment about anything. Your mind is clouded, because the whole Buddhism is about clarifying the mind, right? Not to cloud the mind. So then why is that kind of a very important aspect of our life not included under right action? It is not given in anywhere in the Noble Eightfold Path. Why is it? Because it is implied. It is implied within the right mindfulness somewhere further up. It is implied. So there are things that they are implied. So we have to understand that the sense is implied sense, not the direct sense of saying that. That is why it is not clear, because it's a very common sense. If you take such intoxicants, It is not alcohol only. There are, we had a talk last Sunday actually about this topic. A long talk here, where in which I discuss about what is Sura, what is Meraya, what is Majja. These are three types of intoxicants. Sura means, I would say, fermented liquor. I would say powdered type of intoxication from wheat and flour. And Meraya means distilled drinks, spirits. And then Majja means refined. It could be honey, things that people used out of honey and juice, where in which there is another type of intoxication can happen. So they are physical stuff, because we should know what we drink, what we eat. Sura Meraya cannot be stopped without knowing what they are, right? So it is physical stuff. So it's very common sense. It is implied within another noble path factor ahead of the path. So that is why it is not a part of the Samma Kammanta. I'm not going to read everything, so you can read that. I'm going to highlight only the most important parts. All right, let's talk about the first precept. I would say by incorporating it into this practice, Samma Kammanta. As you can see here, now we are discussing the path over here, right action. We discuss about right view, right intention, right speech. And then you have to work on a couple other noble path factors down the path. The first is Panatipata. Now, what is Panatipata, Veeramani? It's a very complicated, I would say, for many people it's a precept, and for others it's one of the very important aspects of the Sila. Because Sila and Sikha are two different things, right? Sila and Sikha. What's the difference between these two terms? Sila means? There are many terms, many English translations. Sila and Sikha. I done a very interesting interview with a professor. He's a professor about ethics in Buddhism and philosophy, who acquired degrees from masters from Cambridge and PhD from Hawaii, Manoa, about precepts and sila. And then this interview is on YouTube. You can look it up and then watch it. It's very interesting how the sila and sikha have been explained in the text, and especially how we are to understand these two terms. Sila basically means the calming of the body and speech. Sila cannot calm your mind. Only meditation part can calm your mind. So sila means, the contextual meaning of sila is calming the body and speech. And then sikha is a training rule. It's a training rule, which means in order for you to practice sila, you need training rules. I would say training. People don't like rules. It's a training. Okay? So Panatipata is a training. Now, how do we understand Panatipata? If someone is going to cause the vitality of any being to fall, Pana Atipata. That's how we take it. Huh? Pana Atipata. Pana is a being. Ati is a prefix. Pata is cause to fall. If someone is going to cause a vitality of other being, even oneself, to fall, drop. What is vitality? Do we find this term in the canon? Vitality. What is vitality? In English, you know what is vitality. Huh? Jivita Indriya. In Pali we call Jivita Indriya. This is an Abhidhammic term actually. In Abhidhamma you see this. Right? It Jivitendriya. Don't worry, I'm not teaching Abhidhamma. You might run away. I'm trying to make it very easy for you to understand. Even Abhidhamma, some stuff, very important stuff. So, Jivitendriya can be dropped. What is Jivitendriya? What will? Life force. Another term is vitality. When you die, what will happen to you? Now you die one day. Then, the moment you die, your base consciousness or sansaric consciousness departs from your body. Okay? Even you die with an accident or a shooting or a stabbing or natural death, whatever happens to you, your consciousness departs from your body. Then once it departs, it becomes homogeneous. Otherwise, how does that sansaric consciousness looks for another body? We call that moment a Gandhabba. That means once the sansaric consciousness leaves from yourself, then we call it the Gandhabba, and instantly it is supposed to this non-gendered. Then only you become non-gendered. That during that time, unless you are going to reborn in some way, Once you took roots, once your sansaric consciousness took roots in another body, only you manifest gender. But during that time, you have no gender. Ungendered, non-gendered time. Good. Like some washrooms in some universities back in Canada, you go to the washroom, everybody is there. Right? Males, females, everybody there. They want to form no gender kind of a washroom theory. I don't know if it works or not. Anyways, so then what happens? Let's say you are able to get into a body, physicality, animal kingdom or human place. Then what happens? The first thing that your sansaric consciousness is entering is the Jivitendriya. It enters into the Jivitendriya. Yeah, Jivitendriya. It's an Abhidhamma term. Pali Canon does not talk about it. Suttas don't talk about it. But here, why I am bringing this is, once the Jivitendriya is lost, that person is dead. Right? So, Panatipata means that you are causing someone's life force or vitality to drop. Right? This is the idea. This can be done to you also. And those people who are very depressed, who cannot understand the hurried situations, pressurized situations in their life, when they are thinking that they have no help and they're going to die themselves, which is a very bad decision, which is Panatipata too, which is suicide, So they do the same thing. In Buddhism, it is not only that you fall other people's vitality to drop, it is also, if you cause your vitality to drop, it is also Panatipata Veramani. It is legal friendly too. Let's say you're going to take your life and suddenly you couldn't make it happen. Then the police come and arrest you. Yeah, they take you to the legality. Because you can't do that, right? Anywhere in the world. So, the idea here is that, now this is Panatipata, but this Panatipata idea, let's say killing, or maybe in its contextual format, causing someone's vitality to drop, all these ideas are revolving around a bunch of other aspects. Now in Buddhism, we know that the Buddhism does not worry about the death, is it? Does the Buddha worry about the death? He does not worry about it. He says people are dying, that's why you should practice Dhamma. Right? Are there people who practice Dhamma just because they die? death is fundamentally accepted everywhere. But you should not have a very untimely death, miserable death. The Buddhism concerns about killing. Killing is the concern, not the death. Right? Now, what are the very, I would say, controversial areas of the death in today's world? How do we practice it? Because this is not the Buddha's time now. Now, there are certain aspects, I would say, euthanasia. It's a very common concept in many countries at the moment, especially in the developed countries. What does euthanasia mean? Honor killing. That means you can authorize medical professionals that you can't take the pain anymore, and then you were prescribed for a cancer or whatever, and you want to die. Now the problem is, in Buddhism, you can't even authorize someone to kill you. Right? Let's talk about the practical issues later. You can't authorize someone to kill you. Second, a medical professional who is going to do it, you might think that, okay, that person will do it in good faith, but he or she knows that I'm going to kill this person, whatever the good way or bad way. So euthanasia is anti-friendly. It's not friendly in Buddhism. But Western countries, they perform in Canada, Switzerland, and you can do it even. Some people don't even let other people know. They just go and sign up and then they die. Right? And they charge a lot, 20,000, 30,000. Yeah, recently, I think a couple months ago, three ladies disappeared from the US. They went to Switzerland. Now they have very sophisticated places. You authorize and you die, they do the rest of the things. Right? New things, huh? So, but in Buddhism, euthanasia cannot be accepted because it is not what you should do. On the other hand, we all may face a situation like maybe our parents are going through a very hard time. Maybe they are going through a life support scenario. This is very new to Buddhist, early Buddhist things. At that time, they didn't have this kind of a modern way of approaching someone's life. So, in the modern context, the doctors, maybe the situation can come to a certain point where doctors can say, now somebody in the family has to decide to take the life support off. Somebody has to do it. So how should we do that? I think this can come to all of us at a certain point because the modern medical system has it. Right? Maybe a stroke, maybe another life-threatening thing. The doctors will say, treating anymore is not going to work. And you are wasting things. Maybe another patient can be benefited at this point. So how would we look at it as a Buddhist? Somebody has to probably do it, make the decision. I think it's a very painful decision that somebody has to make for everybody in the family. How do we do that? Any answers? The doctors say that this patient is not going to live longer. Even live longer, but there is no improvements. Somebody has to make a decision. So how do we take it with Panatipata? So we have to look at Panatipata now from the modern perspective too. How do we do it? Because these precepts or whatever the things should be practiced in the modern society, not in the 6 BCE, where there was no that kind of a medical system. They had a different system. How do we do it then? Any thoughts? Has anybody experienced that situation in your family, household?
Yes.
Yes.
Basically, you should look at the age of the patient and the amount of pain. For example, like my mother passed away from cancer and it came to this similar situation. I told the doctor I'll only let her decide. And the decision she took was holistic. No chemo, no drugs, nothing. And when it came towards dying, it came on the life support. or came on morphine. After what she wanted, she said she would take it naturally. She suffered for 2 weeks and then she passed away. See, now in modern medicine, it's all about money. Every day your life support is 20,000 ringgit in Malaysia. So the doctors will persuade you, but you've got to look at it. Insurance, non-insurance. And there's so many considerations other than just a Buddhist perspective.
Okay, yeah. So in that situation, your mother was able to sign up or maybe authorize way before, right?
Much earlier.
Much earlier. What if a situation that your relative has come to this stage of coma or whatever, he or she doesn't know, cannot give any authorization, and then somebody else in the family has to make the decision. So, it's painful, but how should we do it? How should we face for it? As a Buddhist, as somebody who understands all these things in whatever the way. Any thoughts? Yes.
Actually, if I'm in his mother's position, I would have felt the same thing. And then if I have to make a decision for another person, the criteria would be about the same. The chances of survival. Then things are I think it's the same as deciding to give an organ donation. Sometimes patient may be thinking, you can actually decide to, there's an option to end the life, so another decision. Using the organ.
Yeah, legally we don't have an issue. Legally you can make, somebody has to make a decision, it's easy. But conscious wise, Buddhist wise, we have to make a very moral type of decision, right? Now there are other issues like this, right? Let's say a bunch of scientists going to have some experimentation out of some rats, cockroaches, maybe other animals. But if you ask them why they do it, they might say this is for the creation of a medication, drug, maybe to save many other beings, right? So there are things like that. But I met somebody who is very worried about what she did in a lab. Now she's in the middle age. When she was young, she didn't care about it, but now she suffers a lot about it. So that's why we have to be very careful. We have to understand, should we go for it or not? Maybe some bold people might do it. So our intention should be pure at that point, right? If the doctors say, if you cannot afford it, you should take a decision, right? Not just, hey, I'm going to kill you, take the life out of. Not that way, right? So you have to prepare to make that decision because you are supposed to make that decision in the proper way. That is euthanasia, one perspective of Panadipata. What are the other perspectives that we may have to struggle? Yeah.
I had an experience like this. My mom was in semi-coma in the hospital. I had an experience. My mom was in the hospital and her health slipped and she went into semi-coma, being treated by 4 specialists. So one of the specialists actually told me that they should bring her home. Otherwise the bill would just run into the hundreds of thousands and she actually cannot be saved. So obviously I asked the doctor, who was asking me to kill my mom. That was the first question I asked him. And he said, no, you have to be wise. Because there's really no reason for her to stay there and suffer. Because there's nothing the doctors can do for her. So out of 4 doctors, only one doctor who's closer to us asked me to make a decision with my brothers. So I actually made the decision to bring her home.
Yeah.
And she carried on for 1 month. So during that 1 month, we actually attempted to give her very good comfort. I think that's the least we could do for her. Just do chanting every day. Her temperaments came, and also So I think that was the least we could do for her. Gave her very good 1 month before she died peacefully. That's my sharing.
Yeah, like that we can create positive decisions, positive thoughts about it, but we are not supposed to kill without that kind of a situation, you know, because we have to understand each situation and then work accordingly. All right, so Panatapata, what are the other elements of Panatapata, especially killing stuff? Now, other, especially James, say that you have to be very careful, extra careful. Actually, it is a good idea, even for Buddhists. We are careful, we are not going to kill any being's life. What about that, I would say, destroying the animal habitats so that animals don't have a place to live, right? This can be taken from a larger perspective. But what if that you have rats, a lot of rats in your household? You have to make a decision for that, right? You can't let a lot of rats come into your house and then get sick, right? So there are situations where you have to make a decision rather than just trying to practice sila without a point. Sila always has to be practiced with a good perspective. Right? We are trying to avoid any killing, but it is not just mere killing, right? Mere avoidance of the killing, but we have to carry lots of, I would say, wisdom to that. Otherwise, we are only avoiding certain things. So, not killing, not causing vitality of any being to fall has to be thought in a very larger, greater perspective. And then the second is Adinna Dana Veramani. Adinna Dana Veramani means not taking what's not given. All right. So then what should we do? We are trying to make sure that we are not taking other people's stuff. What are the, I would say, complicated areas of Adinna Dana? What about you are not being punctual for something? Right? Let's say that you have a meeting at 8 p.m., 8 a.m. in the morning, that you are maybe 10 minutes late. That person is waiting for you. You are stealing that person's precious time. He or she came to see you, talk to you. So, when you are not punctual, you are stealing other person's time. Adinna Dana. Right? An interesting way to see it. It's not just that you go and then take something out. The minimal versions of Adinna Dana is not a robber goes into a break in a bank and then take money out. It has to go to the minimal versions, I would say. You know, the minimal versions. If you take other people's stuff mentally, emotionally, they all come under stealing because they are not yours, right? Trespassing, right? And then, yeah, there are a lot of ways that you could do that. Even if you gossip in a certain way, you might take other person's time too, right? You are making a mess, right? So it is not just a physical thing. It might be mental, psychological things too. Maybe daily events too. So try to be punctual, right? But not to be too punctual. You are supposed to meet at 8 a.m., but you come at 7:30. You are making a mess to that person. That person might be doing something else by that time, right? You are going not to be too early, not too late, right? So then you are respecting that person's time, valuable thing. In today's world, time is such a precious thing. We are all driven by the time. Waking up, going to work, and then starting your work. Everything is time specific. So we should not steal anybody's time. And what about the other things which comes under Adinna Dana? Let's say you work in a company. You might take a small pen out of the company. That demeans you, and it's beneath your dignity. right? Pen is not such a, even though it's valuable or not valuable, but the thought of taking that out from the office, right? It's not good for you, that demeans you. So we are trying to think that I haven't stolen anybody's any small thing. There's no free lunch, huh? So you all have to work, you make whatever the money you can. So we are not taking anybody's stuff. We are safe, we are happy about it, and that happiness is so precious. Adinadana has to start from there. Olden days, it was just taking somebody's stuff, breaking houses, take other people big things. That is Adinadana in the ancient text. But in today's world, Adinadana means you take anything out of that person's life. Anything. Maybe an opportunity. You are taking other person's opportunity. You are not eligible for that. Adinadana. Right? So try to look at the larger, broader perspective of Adinadana also. Right? And some people are trying to, I would say, pressurize other people. You are not the person, you should take it. I am the one who is eligible, so give it to me. Right? You are pressurizing that person's something to take from that person. That person is very helpless and you take it. You are forcibly doing that to take that person to come to that level. Because most people are very vulnerable emotionally. They don't know what to do. Right? So we have to look at it from a very, as I always say, larger, broader perspective. On the other hand, what we develop is dana. Now, dana means the opposite of adinadana. Dinnadai, adinnadai. Dinnadai means we only take what was given to us. We don't take anybody's anything, even a shorter thing. Any complications about adinadana? Any other areas? Yeah?
What about not eating what one should eat, for example, that's
Yeah. Can you talk to the mic, please?
What about not giving what one should be, like tax or parking?
Yeah, it doesn't, yeah.
What about not giving what one should be, for example, tax?
Tax.
Yeah, is
Tax
that
evasion.
steal or greed?
Well, yeah, it could be a form of adinadana also, because the Buddha asks us to pay tax. Yeah, tax. TAX. Because Buddha asks us to do 5 things. Let me tell you. Maybe I can write it here. The first one is Atiti Bali. They are called Bali. Atiti Bali means, I would say, being hospitable to the guest, whoever come to your house. Right? You're taking care of the guest, being hospitable. First one, Atiti Bali. Second is Raja Bali. Raja Bali means pay tax. But this is a very complicated area. Although we are supposed to pay tax, the people who are running the system, they may be corrupted, right? But we are primarily asked to pay tax because somebody has to do this welfare and all that, right? But paying tax is a responsibility of every Buddhist. Do not evade from tax. Number 3 is Pubba Peta Bali. What is it? That means giving good karmas to your dead relatives. Somebody passed away, you have to give good karmas. 4th one is Devata Bali. Devata Bali means sharing merits with the Deva. You should do that also. I think you are doing it in your own cultures. You have lots of goats. Taoist goats, Chinese goats, lots of goats. So you are doing that already. So it's good. It's good. I mean, if you do not invoke blessings, they won't give you anything. That's what we see in the Ratana Sutta, right? In the Ratana Sutta, that's what we see it. Tasma hi bhuta nisameta sabbe mettan karota manusya pajaya. What does it say? It says, Bhante Ananda tells all the Deva who gathered there, look, they are doing your Bali, this Bali, Devata Bali, but you have not taken care of them. Now they are suffering, going through 3 problems. What are they? Non-human issues, then evil spirits, then famine, right? Diseases, right? So you have not come to take care of them. Maybe they have not prayed properly, they prayed wrongly. Yeah, prayers can go wrong because if you don't do the proper way. Just because you go and ask something, it might not work. Right? So, devas need to be invoked. Otherwise, if you think that I do something, Deva will come find me and then do help me, it might not work. Right? They have so much stuff to do. They are busy people. Devata Bali. One Bali is missing. Atiti Bali, Raja Bali, Upeta Bali, Devata Bali. What is the other Bali? We're going to see, there's a sutta called Pattakamma Sutta. Let's see this sutta. Pattakamma. Punacha parang dhapati arya samako uttana viryadi gate bohi baha bala paricite hisedavakkite dhammike. This is how we have to earn money. Dhammalatte panchabaling kattavoti. Jnati balinga. This is what we missed here. Jnati bali. That means helping your relatives. Most of your relatives don't do well in terms of money and all that. So at least once in a while, inviting them for a dinner, right? There are so many things. You should not forget about your relatives. The Buddha said we have to take care of them in the way. But we know there are issues. Your most issues are not with your friends, maybe with your relatives. Because they are the known people for a long time. Arguments, maybe the history, wounds. You should know how to do it without making any problem, without putting you in danger, right? So the Buddha says here, Jnati baling, Atiti baling, Pubbapeta baling, Raja baling, Devata baling. If you go to the translation, a noble disciple makes the 5 oblations to relatives, to guests, ancestors, the king. The king means tax, and the deities. Right? You are supposed to do all that. All right, Pattakamma Sutta. So now here the understanding is so I would say the concern that she raised. So yeah, evading tax is adinadana because that money is not yours, right? Yeah. So that is another very big area to think about. So we have to be only looking at it in a way. We'll ask later at the end. Otherwise, yeah. We are not otherwise be able to practice adinadana. Adinadana basically means try not to take anybody's thing even mentally. Right? Even mentally. Then you are good. You have no issue. Right? Then we come to the Kamesu Miccachara. Kamesu Miccachara means, I think we did a long discussion about Kama some time ago. I think our second or third session about what is Kama. Kama means desire, right? Maybe sensuality, not desire, sensuality. Because we need desires. Even to learn Dhamma, we need a desire, right? So sensuality, when it is crossed the level of normal level and then reaching up to the greed, that is called bad karma. Now, Kamesu Miccachara particularly means sexual misconduct. Right? Buddha does not talk about different representation of sexuality, homosexuality, heterosexuality, whatever. He simply says, do not step over other people's relationships. That's bad. Because the way how people practice it could be different from time to time. But do not ever step onto other people's dearly cordial relationships, because you will go through the same in another life. Nobody would like to have a breakup Nobody would like to have a divorce, right? They are very emotionally very terrible situations. So never ever do that in your life, because the karma will come after you, for sure. So, and on the other side, Buddha says practice sexual conduct, right? So he's very open to that. I mean, for the lay people, right? So Buddhism maintains a very healthy perspective of sexuality. What are the other problems with regard to sexual misconduct? Oh, yes, you have a question?
I think now in the modern world, people are having like friend with benefit instead having sexual without any commitment. Now it's very getting very friendly now. Second thing is by one night stand. So is it
What's the second thing?
one night stand? One night stand is that
Yes, I know.
is that sexual misconduct? Is that sexual misconduct? Let's say both also single.
Yeah. Is that what?
Is that a sexual misconduct?
Okay.
Both also single, they are not breaking. They are not breaking precepts that both also single. Is that
Let me think. Let me think about. Okay.
Random sex partner.
Okay. So the first aspect of the question is friends with benefit,
Yes.
and the second is one night stand. Okay. So to us, these are modern ways of engaging in sexuality by some people, not everybody. So we have to say that not everybody does that. Some may do. That is why I said the Buddha did not specify about different manifestations of sexuality. Should it be homosexual or heterosexual? But Buddha said never ever step over into other people's relationship. That is where the Buddha is concerned. But we have to look at the elements of that kind of a sexual behavior. Why is someone into friends with benefits kind of a relationship? Not the activity itself. Why is that mentality lie down, that kind of a thing? That could be a concern in Buddhism. It might be correct, it might be wrong in the contemporary way, but you're asking from the Buddhist perspective, right? So Buddha asks us to think about why do we have that kind of, I would say, not a regular type of, not a normal type of relationship, right? Perhaps the culture, perhaps the changes in the society, right? Perhaps the life that everybody is now, not many people, maybe some people are going through. These, I would say, things might have caused somebody to think about that kind of a life. But I think everybody might be happy if they could do a regular thing, could enter into a regular type of relationship if possible. But if things don't work for them, they might think about such things. So what I'm saying is that not trying to interpret those two options in the Buddhist way, that might lead us to some complications. What I say is that for those people who are engaged in that kind of a behavior should think whether I have issues in terms of my sexuality, in terms of Buddhism. Because it's at the end of the day, it is your sexuality, those people's sexuality. Does it violate the Buddhist fundamentals of greed, I would say, that kind of stuff? That could be the elements that one can think about. Not going into 1, 2, 3, 4, those options in today's world. Yeah. So I can't say it is anti-Buddhist or it is Buddhist. What I can say is that those people who are into those things should evaluate themselves. Is this kind of a distorted, is this kind of sexual behavior a form of distortion in my healthy sexuality? Is it a distortion? then it's not good. But it's case specific. So that's what I can think about it. Looking at the roots of that sexuality, the thoughts of that kind of sexuality. But here what is concerned by the Buddha is that one should never, I would say, engage in a relationship whereby you are breaking other people's relationships. That is the concern of here. It's not about different sexual behaviors. If we go over that, then we could go over one by one. I think the list will go. It is not a list. Maybe it's a distorted thinking too at a certain level. Why people do that? So So here, what is more concerned is that we should not break somebody's relationship by engaging, by I would say coercing, by persuading a married person into a relationship. So you are breaking that cordial, daily relationship. That is the main concern over here.
Bhante, since you're talking about relationship, what is the Buddhist view on prostitution? For example, in Singapore, right, a lot of immigrants, they designate certain areas, right, to service the immigrants. Otherwise, there will be a lot of cases, sexual cases, or rape cases. How do you view that from that point of view, from social point of view?
Yeah, good question. Let me tell you, one of the very famous female devotees of the Buddha was one of the very pioneer prostitutes in India, Ambapali. She was the Ambapali, Addakasi, later they became Arahants, they were prostitutes. So I think Buddha did not deny their arrival in the temple. But it is said in a commentary that the Buddha advised monks, do not look at Ambapali, she's coming. You might lose your monkhood. He says in the Atthakatha commentaries. So the thing is that, again, what I'm trying to say is that, people who are going into that kind of a situation should understand, is this the best thing for me to do, right? It's all about understanding. It's about primary intentions about those kind of activity, right? Somebody might say there is a woman who is very poor, she can't take care of the kids, she has no help, maybe she was abandoned by the husband, right? So that's why we cannot say it is bad or good. Rather than I'm asking somebody to think that what caused that person to be in that particular, profession. Yeah, because the Buddha says we have to always think about things like jobs that create you more lobha, more dosa, more moha. If so, you have to avoid such, right? It might be even a simple thing. It might not be that kind of a profession, right? So we cannot say it is bad, it is good. Rather than saying that kind of a thing, we would say, looking at what they are doing, there are many reasons. At the same time, those who are involved in that should consider, did I enter into these professions because of lobha, dosa, moha or not? And intention is the most important part. Volition is the most important part, not the action itself. Right? Now let's say, as we always talk about, soldiers, law enforcement, right? And they are trained, particularly trained, and they may have to use their extra force within a domestic violence situation, maybe a terrorist situation. They may have to kill or shoot, not in the way to kill them, just to protect the country, right? So we are looking at it case by case, right? Yeah.
I'd like to take this discussion to another part of it, which is Mityachara. We know Kamesu, and we talk about Kamesu and give so many examples. During the Buddha's time, there were people like Chanda who had numerous wives. And there were multiple relationships. Even the Buddha had so many courtesans when he was Siddhartha Gautama. So in that sense, when did it come that one man only had one woman? This is actually what we inherited from the British imperial colonialization. Prior to that, even in China, in India, one man had many wives. And basically, Kamesu Michachara is about how we conduct ourselves, but there is an autonomous moral stand which we take within ourselves and make a decision which we hold upon. However, suddenly it's become that it's society which decides our moral standing. So can Bhante share some insights on this?
I think we should not go to that kind of level at this point, because Kamasumichachara does not talk about monogamy or polygamy. It talks about we should not step over into other people's relationship, right? And on the other hand, what it encourages is that those who are married, those who are into relationships should respect their partners. This is the fundamental thing. Not talking about how many spouses should we have or not. That is up to the legality of the country. If you go to a Muslim country, it's a different thing. If you go to a Christian country, it's a different thing. And we are not going to talk about that. Just as that question, those particular behaviors, right? So let's make our boundaries here. Otherwise, we are going to talk about some unnecessary areas. Okay?
Just to clarify the point, Chanda was actually giving sermons to monks. The Buddha will ask Chanda, who had minimum 4 wives, to actually advise the monks and teach them.
Yeah. The Buddha's time and today is different. We can't do everything what the Buddha saw in his time. Buddha's time, the country was ruled by the kings. They had a harem. They've been with many women, many other people. Now, culture is different, for the good sake or for the bad sake. So we have to look at it from the today's perspective. Let's not talk about how many partners should somebody has in terms of Kamasumichachara. Kamasumichachara simply means we should not step over to other people's relationships, and then respecting your own partner for a cordial, daily relationship. Let's put it that way. Other things are not our priority over here, right? Because we are talking about a very interesting area, Samma Kammanta, it's a noble eightfold path, not about these funny small things that people are having in their daily life, right? Let's come back to that level, that precious level. All right. Okay. So. Can we leave it to the Q&A later? Keep that question, save it. Later, not now. So, now Panatipata Veramani, Adinadana Veramani, Kamasumichachara Veramani are, I would say, actions that everybody who is supposed to practice with, I would say, after Samma Vacha. Which means when you have the right speech, from right speech you are going to create good actions. You are going to take care of other beings. You are going to take, you are not going to take what's not given, and you are going to engage in sexual conduct, not in the sexual misconduct. Now we have to get into some of the very interesting part here. Why is Samma Kammanta important? It is one of the Sila parts. Other factors regarding Sila are Samma Vacha and Samma Ajiva. So, Vacha, Samma Vacha is right speech, Samma Kammanta is right action, Samma Ajiva is right living, which will be discussed next Monday. And Samma Samadhi, I would say Samadhi part has Vayama, Sati Samadhi, Panya part has Ditti Sankalpa, which are discussed. How to practice Samma Kammanta properly? Now, going beyond the 5 precepts, we have to look at Samma Kammanta within the Noble Eightfold Path. Let's see it. Okay. As you can see here, this is Samma Kammanta. This has to be practiced with Samma Ditti, Samma Vayama, and Samma Sati. Right? That means how do we practice it? Let's say now you know what is Samma Kammanta, right? But how do you know Samma Kammanta? from some miccha kammanta, wrong action. There is somebody who kills, who steals, who sexually misbehaves, right? Then how do we know that that person has a proper understanding about Samma kammanta? That if that person has Sammaditthi, right view, definitely that person separates out Micchaditthi from Sammaditthi, Sammaditthi from Micchaditthi, right? Now initially, if somebody has right view, can somebody look for distorted sexual behaviors? I don't think so. So it's kind of a very healthy, very wholesome way of looking at all this stuff. And then just because you know this is the proper actions, not killing, not stealing, not sexually misbehaving, can you still go ahead with that knowledge? No, you need effort, right? You have to do it effortfully. Without effort, you cannot practice Samma kammanta. Let's say now you are very tempted. You are a married man. You are very tempted. You are in a situation that you have lots of opportunities. What would you do? You have to bring Samma vayama. You know this is bad. You could do it. You may be a married woman, right? Yeah, you may be into a relationship already. You have opportunities coming up, pouring it. But you know, you need to practice right effort. I really love this person. This is how I'm respecting that person, right? There may be issues in anybody's life. Who doesn't have issues, right? So, you are bringing Samma vayama. Samma vayama means preventing. You are putting effort to prevent any unnecessary akusalas, unwholesome thoughts to come out. And you are removing existing akusalas. And you are trying to create non-existing kusalas. And you are trying to deepen the existing kusalas. So it's a 24-hour process. It's not just a retreat. From the time you wake up till you go to sleep, it's a process. You have to work. Otherwise, temptations will take you over in a moment of time. Just one temptation will take you over. But you are such a very effortful person, nobody can do anything. It's not controlling yourself, it's a very conscious understanding. Then, just because you have lots of efforts, can you still continue with your Samma kammanta practice? It is not so. You still need right mindfulness. You should know what time is the temptation arising. How is the temptation coming over to me? Who is doing this temptation to me? That kind of a very XYZ kind of a knowledge. How is it happening to me? It's a full understanding. That is how you're going to practice Samma kammanta. But most people have only the knowledge. They don't try to do it. And they never bring mindfulness other than a retreat. So they are always in the mess. They always complain, see, I'm coming to the temple every day, I go to every retreat, I listen to many Dhamma, but nothing is progressing because you are not doing anything properly. You are practicing the wrong way. Right? You have to practice the proper way. This is the proper way. Noble Eightfold Path. That is why it is a gradual path. Right? It is a gradual path. And then, 5 precepts we will discuss about it. Does the absence of these three make you a virtuous person? Now let's say you are not killing anyone, any being. You are not stealing anybody's thing. You are not sexually misbehaving. Are you becoming a virtuous person just because of that? No, I think I told that many times over here. So, you have to be intentionally moral, not just moral. Not just moral, you have to be intentionally moral. See, 3 months old infant breaks none of the precepts. Right? But he or she is not a virtuous person, although the baby does not do any harm like a bad person. But the baby is not intentionally moral. So he or she needs understanding, sammaditthi, and intention, samma sankappa. It's not merely the inability to violate any of the 5 precepts. That is why this is called see the perspective of the path. That means somebody is chained with something. So he or she cannot do anything bad. But the mind is so bombarded with all the bad intent. I want to kill, I want to kill. But he or she is chained with something. Do you still call that person who has sila? No, it's the intention. Buddha always talk about intention, volition part. So who knows the intentions? Only that person knows. Others don't know. That's why Buddhism is a very private, kind of a private self-practice in a way. Nobody knows. So here these three are definitely related to sila. Sila does not mean the mere absence of those three actions. So you have to abstain from these three, not killing as an intention. I am not killing. That is why I am refraining from it. I am abstaining from it. I am not stealing anything. Right? I am not sexually misbehaving. Interestingly, is Samma Kammanta connected to compassion? How conscious decision making leads to compassionate action? Is it connected to compassion? Yes. At the moment that you feel you want to destroy somebody's life, if you were compassionate, you would have not come to that thought. So is adinadana and kamasumicchachara. If you think a little bit before, during, after, nothing will happen. Right? Those numbers won't come to our mind. Right? They will never come to our mind if we think. Right? So, compassion, that means karuna. So, please keep in mind, while you practicing anything in Buddhism, you must at the same time continuously practice 4 things. We call them metta, karuna, mudita, upekkha. You must maintain them all the time. They are the highest attitudes. You cannot practice anything, even the Noble Eightfold Path, without those 4. You should have some unconditional friendship to everybody by understanding who they are. Right? Otherwise, it is going to be a problem too. And the second, karuna. You should be able to put yourself on other people's shoes as empathy, and sometimes you have to make it, if you could, to the compassionate level. We say empathy is the shorter version of compassion. Right? Maybe we can't help that much, so it's empathy. Empathize. But compassion means the larger, broader version of your empathy. You can still help that person, money-wise, health-wise, advice-wise, and all. Karuna. Mudita. Mudita means we should be able to be altruistic about other people's achievements. Right? It looks like those 4 are more difficult than the Noble Eightfold Path to many people. Why is it? Every devotee should have all these things who wants to practice Dhamma. Otherwise, they are not able to practice Dhamma path. All these become a knowledge to them. Upekkha is the balanced state of mind. You are not moved by anything. Happiness, unhappiness, right? Or gain, praise, anything. So compassion definitely is very important for you to practice sila path. Then you will not, that means compassion helps you not to make any wrong thing in terms of the panatipata, adinadana, kamasumicchachara aspects. Is Samma Kammanta connected to mindfulness? Definitely, because we discussed right mindfulness. Do you need sampajanya for that? What is sampajanya? Sampajanya. This is a word mentioned in the Satipatthana Sutta. Sampajanya. The Buddha said sati sampajanya. They both work together. What is sampajanya? Clear comprehension. Now I know I am sitting down, but am I conscious about what is on the ground? I might not. Right? So the specifics of that particular mindfulness has sampajanya part. So we call it in the normal sense, what you call the presence of the knowledge, but the presence of the mind. The presence of the mind should be followed with some wisdom. We call it sampajanya. All right. Finally, before I go to the Q&A, how to practice Samma Kammanta? Make sure that you don't kill any being. Make sure you don't steal anyone's things. Make sure you, I would say, you are not stepping over into other people's relationships in a positive way, respecting life, generosity for adinadana, and avoid sexual misconduct. So what you need to understand here is that with Sammaditi you started the path, you purified your view, and because of that you are coming up with right intention, Samma Sankappa. Because you are coming up with right intentions, then you are able to talk good speech. That means not lying, not talking behind the back, not harshful words, and then not gossiping. So that now you have a good opportunity to create actions, speech, now mind, thoughts, then words, now action. Now you have a good opportunity to put your right view-based intentions and speeches into action. This is what we are supposed to do down the path. Now when you are doing this well, you are getting into right living. This will be the last part of the Sila, which we'll be covering next month. Any questions?
Yeah, Bhante. Short one. Two short questions. One is, you mentioned about helping families. You help the family. Does the Buddha mention anything about a limit? Because there are some family members, they keep asking for help and help and help and help. They become very delusional. That's one. Second question is, if we wrongly accuse someone to the point of that person become depressed and commit suicide, is that an indirect killing?
So you're asking family members keep coming for help. What should you do? Limit. Okay. Second is
somebody wrongfully accused someone to the point of depression.
Okay.
And that person commits suicide.
Okay. Who is the culprit?
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, so that's the thing actually. That's why I said when you are going to practice the Jnati Bali, this one, Jnati Bali, the being hospitable to your relatives, you have to be wise, careful, because some relatives are trying to take advantage out of you. But it should not deprive of your ability to help them. Right? That means for any good thing you should practice some type of wisdom. Without wisdom you cannot practice some level of wisdom, you cannot practice any good thing. You should know the limit, the boundary, how to persuade them. This is what I can do for you. Right? So we need a certain level of wisdom to tackle those people without making them unhappy, at the same time without depriving your good will actually towards them. First. Second is that it depends on the intention. We don't know the intention. Maybe it seems that one person made it, but maybe he or she didn't have the intention to do so. So we can't say without understanding the intention. If the intention was to kill, destroy some other being's life, definitely then yes. But sometimes not. Yeah. Otherwise we can't say. That's why I'm saying we cannot analyze the karma from the external actions only. Right? We cannot do that in Buddhism. We don't know the intention. But some people lie. That's a different part. They only know what they are doing. Make sense? Okay, good.
Bhante, on the issue of the cases of sexuality, I think 2 points were overlooked, which Buddha stressed on. One is suffering, and the other is wisdom. And that is related to Sammaditi. Now, suffering in the cases of these relationships, there have been enough case histories where there have been suffering as a result of such behavior. And of course, related to this is the attachment aspect of greed. If a person can get into a relationship of random sexual behavior, one night stands, etc., without greed, knowing the consequences, and they are okay, that's fine, for themselves. But the other party may not have the same frame of reference, in which case suffering will be a consequential thing. So that's one aspect. So at the end of the day, this is deviant from the training guidelines. The other aspect of rape and incest, that again has aspect of suffering from aspect of betrayal. In the case of rape, you are not respecting the rights of the victim. In the case of incest, you are not upholding the trust of guardianship. So I think if a practicing Buddhist takes into account all these when practicing the Noble Eightfold Path, they will find that although peripheral to the training guidelines, they are improper conduct. That's how I view it. Thank you, Bhante.
Yeah, there are a lot of good suggestions to think about. I think rather than looking at these things from different perspectives, I would say if your even the married sexuality goes to a level of greed, that is immoral. Then what about other non-married relationships? That's the thing. Right? So we put them up here that this is a kind of a behavior, is it good or bad? Rather than thinking that way, if you promote greed in whatever the structure, that is unwholesome. But there is a certain level of karma, that is Samma, that is good, that is okay for lay people. Let them practice the way that they want. But if the greed is arisen at a certain point, then there is the issue where people are suffering. As you said that even though that particular person may not have intention, the other person might be affected badly, right? Yes.
Okay, yeah. On the topic of the intention, I want to further go into it. Let's say like some gentleman said that somebody is being accused, wrongly accused, but maybe the person has no intention. But because there's ignorance, like we talk about defilement, greed, hatred, ignorance. Ignorance is not defilement. So without the right view comes the ignorance. So does karma establish that? Does karma establish in his action? Because of his ignorance that has caused somebody to be go into depression and then eventually things happen. So does that constitute to our karma?
Actually, these those type of situations go between one's own taking care of one's own what you call spirituality or the karma, right? So we never know what that person has as an intention. But if let's say somebody is run over by a vehicle on the road, maybe the driver has no intention, right? He or she had no intention, but he or she could not stop the car. He shouldn't have stopped the car too. Where's the problem? Now we are looking at it from a modern perspective. The driver should have stopped the car. But from a spiritual point, somebody can say, no, that was his or her karma. That is a little bad. It's embarrassing to say that. We always have a responsibility to do something, right? We are not talking from a past point of view or future point of view. So that's why we have to be very careful in analyzing karma. We have to be very careful. Do we create karma violence? This is a topic in the West. Let's say you see a handicapped person. According to karma, you will easily pick up on that person. Oh, this person may have done bad karma in the past life. It may be not. Maybe yes. We never know. So what we are supposed to do? No, we are not looking at that way. We are going to help that person out. What do you want? How can I help you? That is, I think, in understanding this situation, we should be very careful. We have to live in the moment, at that point. And how do we do the help to the other person? So, picking up on karma easily is not a good approach all the time. Yeah, but if you look at that kind of a situation, we never know who is the person who made the issue. That is why we have to look at the association of the unwise people is a problem. And we have to go back to the rudimentary level. We have to always be in the company of the Kalyana Mitras, good friends. Good friends will never take us to that kind of a level. Right? So we mess up our life at an early age with partners and those people, bad friends. And then now we try to talk about karma and whatever the things at that point. The Buddha says, not everything comes from karma. Right? He says, not everything comes from karma. Most of the things that we are going through could be our bad decisions in our life. So in that point, we don't put everything onto karma. In order to really understand what really went wrong or what really went good, somebody like Buddha is the one who should intervene. Otherwise, we never know. Because it has to come from a very deep level of honesty in those people's lives. Let's take one more question if you have.
Bhante, I have only one question. Somehow we have done a mistake without any bad intention. But after analyzing it, got to know it is a mistake, no matter what, whether it's a good intention or bad intention or without any intention. After analyzing it is like 50-50. No need to hurt, don't have any intention to hurt, but the person got hurt because we don't know about the person. So in that case, no need to go for the grief, right? How we cannot be in the grief forever. How we can solve such kind of situation?
Okay, so two aspects. One thing is that not knowing the morality is not a free pass to hurt other people. Not knowing the morality, how to behave, how to talk, how to act, is not a free pass to hurt other people. That is a fundamental problem. Let's say there is somebody who says that I don't know that killing is a bad thing until today. Stealing other people's stuff is a bad thing until today. Sexual misconduct is a bad thing until today. That person cannot be given any immunity, in my understanding, unless otherwise that person comes from a very immoral background, like a gangster, maybe a drug cartel or somebody. So fundamentally that ignorance should be investigated. That is number one. So by knowing and then doing it is another aspect. Let's say that person made a mistake. It could be a mistake if that person did it without intention. Let's say that person knows this is bad, but it happened. So at that point, it could be forgiven, because we have to forgive everybody, right? But there are certain consequences that person may carry. Remember the Deva, there was one guy who went for camping with other guys who hide for a prank, hide clothes of the other person's clothes. He became a Deva being naked, Interesting story. A naked Deva in the heaven, right? He did it for prank. But the other person suffered a lot. He couldn't find clothes in time. He had to go through some embarrassment, No clothes in the forest, right? That you have to look at we have to look at how other people suffer, go through. That is compassion, right? Just because you can do, you should never do. So let's say somebody made the mistake. Now he or she is being, I would say, criticized by other people. At that point, he or she has to practice upekha. Should not be moved by any praise or blame. That is hard to practice, but at least That is why we have to practice Buddhism at a young age. So when you become old, you are immune to that spark system. If you start it in your late 50s, 40s, you have to catch up on a lot of things. When things don't go work, then you start Buddhism. Start coming to temple. Most people. Then it's a hard practice for me. You have to start at least in a certain level in your young time. So when you become that kind of a person, it's easy for you to stay on to the practice. Just because you know things, it doesn't guarantee you can practice it. So there will be things that person has to go through, but that person will go through everything with some level of upekka, equanimity, balanced state of mind. Alright, so today we discuss about Samma Kammanta. Samma Kammanta is nothing but understanding the preciousness of other people's lives, and then the preciousness of other people's belongings, and the preciousness of the cordial, dear relationships other people maintain. Right? The way how people perform sexuality could be different. According to time, at the Buddha time, there were kings who had lots of harems. If you go to some other country, it could be different. So it is not our point of discussion. Our point of discussion is whatever the relationship people have been maintaining, we have to respect. We should not step over to their relationships and respect what we have, what they have. That's what Kamsamicachara basically means. Right? If you do such, they come from a very good understanding of your spirituality, Sammaditi. Those thoughts will help you to have Samma Sankappa, and those intentions help you to have good words, Samma Vacha, then Samma Kammanta, that which you are going into action part. Now next week what is happening is that now you have actions. Not only you are physically doing those actions with mentality, you are going to look at a moral way of making money, making a living out of it. That's very interesting. That's more into how you spend the life. So that is what we will be discussing next Monday. Alright? Let's share all these good karmas. May all the good karmas which we've been accumulating today be transferred to all the departed beings who passed away in the name of all of us. May departed beings be well and happy and finally attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Idammi ñāti naṁ hotu sukhita hontu ñātayo. Idammi ñāti naṁ hotu sukhita hontu ñātayo. Idammi ñāti naṁ hotu sukhita hontu ñātayo. May Devanaga Mahitika also be well and happy. May they share all these good karmas, and may they protect and bless all of us for good health, quality of life, prosperity, safety, in particular for our Dhamma journey. May Devanaga Mahitika finally attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Akasattha ca Bhummattha Devanaga Mahitika Punyantam Anumoditva Chirang Rakhantu Lokasasana. Akasattha ca Bhummattha Devanaga Mahitika Punyantam Anumoditva Chirang Rakhantu Desanam. Akasattha ca Bhummattha Devanaga Mahitika Punyantam Anumoditva Chirang Rakhantu Mang Paranti Chirang Rakhantu Tvang Sadati. Ittavata ca ammehi sambhatam punya sampadam sabbe deva anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Ittavata ca ammehi sambhatam punya sabbe bhuta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Ittavata ca ammehi sambhatam punya sampadam sabbe satta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. May we be in the company of the Kalyana Mittas. A lot of our mistakes, problems happen because we don't have the association with the Kalyana Mittas. May we be in the company of Kalyana Mittas till we attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Imina punya kammena mami bala samagamo Satang samagamo hotu yavadibbana pattiya. Finally, may all the good karmas which we've been accumulating today be supportive and helpful for all of us to attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Abhivadana sirisse niccang vaddha pachayino chattaru dhamma vaddhanti ayuvanu sukhang balang ayurarogya sampatti sagga sampatti mevacha ato nibbana sampatti iminati samicchatu. Sadhu, sadhu.